What's up, fellow citizens? Welcome back to the Path of Rage, and today we got some Star Citizen coverage, including a new Inside Star Citizen, a Star Citizen Live, and a brief update from me on my impressions of the current build of the 3.24 Evocati patch. By the time you guys see this video, the same day that it comes out, they were saying that they were planning on putting out a new build later on the day this goes live, so I'll be sure to give a go on that one. So this for right now is for the current state of the patch up to Monday. So without any further ado, let's get into it. First things first, we'll go with the 3.24 patch. They have been hammering away at the cargo freight elevators and the hauling missions in general. I still have not been able to complete a hauling mission, but from monitoring the Evocati chat, others have, so it's still hit or miss. I am still having mainly problems with hangars. Either my ship not showing up, not being retrievable, the cargo for the mission not coming up, or getting everything working just fine in the first part of the mission, but then where I'm supposed to drop it off, still the doors weren't opening or whatnot. Again, they put out a bunch of bug fixes over the course of the past week, but the current build is still not quite there. It's running a bit smoother, far less crashes than we were having, much more stable in that regard, but still there's bugs to be ironed out, so it hasn't been as much of a change as I would like to share with you in this video. So moving on to Inside Star Citizen. This was a good episode this week, talking about the new blockade runner mission and the new cargo hauling missions as well. Blockade will focus on cargo hauling and space combat together, both PvP and PvE, with players needing to hunt down pirates around the system, take them out or disable them without blowing them up, load the cargo from their ships onto your own, and then you'll have to run said cargo to a local space station, for example, where then you'll have to run a blockade to deliver the goods. And that's where the illegal mission for the PvP players who want to join the blockade will come in as well. And this will tie into the new cargo elevators, as it is how players will actually deliver the cargo now, instead of just clicking a button at a kiosk. You'll have to make it past the blockade, land, and then manually take the stuff off of your ship and put it into the elevator. I think you might still be able to do auto loading. I don't know, but I don't know if you have enough to bother with the time limits on that, especially if you want to make another run for the rest of the mission, because similar to how the Xenothreat event worked, players are going to be rewarded based on their participation in this event, and a bar will fill up as the player accomplishes more and more, and you get bonus rewards and whatnot as you go through that. This event is really going to put a ton of emphasis on ship boarding for players as well, as that's the best way to nab as much cargo as possible at a time. You could blow the enemy ships up and you'll get less cargo that way. So this is a way for CIG to focus us on perhaps using distortion weapons, if they fix them, to neutralize a ship and crack that back door without blowing it up. Shoot, using FPS combat to shoot the pirates still living on those ships, still alive, and then you'll take their cargo. That will be the most efficient way. This sounds like it's going to be a fun mission to give a try. It has not been ready yet in the Evocati builds, but once that does come out, I'll give it a go, and I'll be sure to let you know how it goes. Now, hauling missions have also been added to the verse, and they differ from the single box missions that we currently have, which will still be part of the game. They differ by adding in large SCU sizes and ship focused missions where either a smaller ship or a larger one will be a better choice for that mission, as opposed to a one ship size fits all type of thing. Missions will also range from a single pickup, single drop off, to multiple pickups and drop-offs and any combination therein, and players will be able to take multiple missions if they want. Rewards for these missions will be based on time and difficulty of the mission itself, which, of course, when it comes to Star Citizen, you have to remember All of that stuff is up for grabs and up in the air right now. Nothing is final. So this is more like a tier 0 cargo hauling. Here's where we're going with it. Let's figure out the values later. So far, like I said, they're not working as well as I would like, but I can see where they're going. Then we jump over to Star Citizen Live, which again was about cargo missions, cargo hauling missions, but obviously at just over an hour long, it was much more in depth. Just like with Inside Star Citizen, I suggest that you watch these episodes of Star Citizen Live as well. There's some information that I'm not putting in here because it was more theory crafting. There are stretches of SCL where they're not giving out like new information or whatnot. So, you know, as usual, I'm going to sum it up into the things that really jumped out for me. One of them was that the mission SCU sizes are based on the ideal cargo ship. For example, a Caterpillar, and the details of this will be shown in the mission description. Players can still use whatever ship they wish in the end, with someone in a Cutlass or an Avenger, for example, still being able to complete that Caterpillar-based mission. It's just going to take a much longer time frame. Box sizes are set by the mission, which will limit you in your ship choices, at least somewhat for now. But they do say that they want to allow players to specify the box sizes themselves going forward. So maybe, yeah, what if you don't have a Caterpillar, but you do have a Cutlass? You still want to take that mission and the reward payouts. You think you can do it and it's worth the time? Then maybe we'll be able to specify, okay, instead of the 32 SCU boxes, I need the smaller ones because I have a Cutlass. That's coming in the future, not for 3.24. Hauling missions will be in 3.24, but not the resizing. CIG said that the missions are being used in two ways. One is to provide a more story-driven, narrative-style experience within the game, and the second is to introduce players to other aspects of the game that they haven't yet tried, the entirely new game loops, for example. They used the salvage missions as an example of this, where far more people actually tried out the salvage gameplay loop after the missions were added to the persistent universe, as compared to when the salvage ship and mechanics alone were already in the game. While these missions are going to be tying into the background quanta simulation that CIG has been telling us about for the last few years, this stage is being used to actually build the missions themselves. So we can get our hands on them sooner rather than later. And the idea is that the full economy and quanta will basically be plugged into the missions at a later date when everything is ready. But this will allow us to actually play these missions and give them our feedback. Hey, this takes too long. This doesn't feel rewarding enough. That kind of thing. As I mentioned before, players will be able to take multiple missions at once, enabling them to plan effective routes to get them all done. However, with the reputation system tying into these missions just like all the others, the devs pointed out that the path of action will lead to much higher risk if you do it that way, as failing multiple missions will be a huge hit to your rep, because you will fail multiple missions and drop multiple rep levels because of it. So that's another factor in on your process of what you're going to need and whether or not you can do a mission safely, if you need an escort, all of that kind of stuff. These missions are currently not in the landing zones because of the performance issues in the landing zones. They found that when they tried an earlier version of this with other missions in landing zones, so many people were congregating there that it just drove the already low performance of the zones even further and completely slowed down the kiosks and all that. So they spread them out among the verse for now, but eventually they will, of course, be coming back to the landing zones and the more heavily populated areas. Just for right now, it is a performance consideration that they're not there at the time being. Again, I would say that with this Star Citizen Live in particular, usually this is the case with all of them, but this one in particular, I would suggest if you have the time, or if you're doing something around the house, put it on in the background and have a listen to the entire thing, because they, like I said, they do go into a bit of theory crafting about what they could do with this new mission system and the types of missions they could come up with, how the effort versus reward will work. Again, not in enough detail for me to list specifics off for you here, but more on a this is what we're going for type style. Again, I would suggest that you check them out, and Inside Star Citizen well. In the meantime, this has been a shorter update simply because there wasn't as much to report on the current 3.24 build that I would have liked, but I will make sure to update you on that next week, hopefully with a much better view of what's going on. Maybe hopefully finally being able to take some video of the cargo refactor that's going on right now. If it's at a wave 1, I don't know, it's going slow. In the meantime, I've been Rayjet Games, and if you enjoyed this video, thought I did a good job, give me a thumbs up. If not, a thumbs down. Sound off in the comments. As always, I love to hear your thoughts, folks. Subscribe if you're new to help me grow the channel, because I do appreciate it. And until next time, I've been Rayjet Games, and maybe I'll see you in the verse. Bye-bye.